Hey everybody. Sorry for the delay in this. I know I usually post early in the week, but it's been a long one. The opening for our school play is on Thursday, so we are pretty much in crunch time. So it's been a lot of late nights and stress. But the beauty of the life I've created for myself is that my highlight of my week is art history and this degree. So I'm really glad to be able to finally contribute to the discussion. Again, apologies for the lateness of it. So I just finished reading the article about Kandinsky, and I really felt like it gave me a wonderful and better understanding of how his work should be interpreted. I think the author did a fabulous job of expressing their intentions, giving the proper support and backing and evidence, and then really wrapping it up nicely, nice little bow, concluding everything in a way that's really understandable. In paragraph two, the author automatically starts out saying what he intends to do, which is adequately analyze, change in the habits of viewing and judging art so that it can be better understood and appreciated. The focus here is on Kandinsky's one-man show in 1912 at the Herwarth Walden's Der Sturm Gallery in Berlin. So essentially, Kandinsky was originally drawn to this particular gallery and environment, and the author is explaining that he both contributed to it as well as learned from it. And what I learned later is that he is learning a lot from his critics as well, both the good and the bad. And so this was a new look at Kandinsky's pure quotation paintings, as he was also called the leader of the German Expressionists. And so this show featured works that were non-objective and paired with more figural preparatory sketches. And the scholars that were, I guess, or the critics that were at this show and this space were comparing these two things together, which is not what was Kandinsky wanted and not what was intended. So, of course, Kandinsky did understand that the reactions to this would be tough, and he anticipated them. He wrote a piece that went in the catalog for the show that explained a little bit about how he wanted his work to be viewed. And so the author explains this more. About how Kandinsky is questioning how previous art has been interpreted and providing a new method for doing so. Kandinsky condemns the previous discourse in art, and for it just kind of being very fashionable, that was the word, but really more surface level. Kind of feels like just critiquing art for critiquing art's sake. And so he wants to kind of leave the formalist approach and go, and he wants people to interpret his work with a non-formalist point of view. He felt it was the only way to adequately understand the essence of his art and to hear its spirit. So Kandinsky's work really is not what you're seeing and what it represents, but what it feels like, what the experience of that artwork is like, which was not what critics were looking at. He only chose certain forms to express the inner experience of artwork in general, and especially his. And these abstract forms were not really that important for their physical self, but to their resonance, their life is what he was trying to show and demonstrate, and hopefully have his viewership understand. And so Kandinsky also mentions that, speaking about art, sure, it's possible, it's doable, and we should continue to do it, but they might not be enough, and we need to understand that. Sometimes words, they don't accomplish, conveying certain kinds of meaning. And so he wants the understanding of art to be what the life of it is, and the explanation is almost like the death of it if gone in a wrong direction. He wants the explanation to be about new ideas and experience, not about what, shapes and squares and reds and blues and greens mean and how they're used. He doesn't want that approach where we're looking at the formal elements of artwork. So this critic, Rudolf Leonhard, Leonhard, he approached the work very differently, and rather than from this formalist point of view, he wanted to find connections within the art of the show itself. And so he actually listened to Kandinsky's advice in the catalog and wanted to analyze the art as he instructed. So I find a lot of appreciation there, right? That makes sense. He wants it to be interpreted this way. Let's approach it from that direction. And he wanted to see if his work accomplishes what he claims that it did. And so, he's looking at a particular experience of the world. He's questioning this normal reality and seeing that Kandinsky is achieving his artwork within this other reality, and that he's really moving past just these immediate, very clear elements of art and looking towards things that we can't see. He doesn't refer to specific pieces when talking about this world. He just talks about it in general, which I feel like kind of speaks to what Kandinsky desired. And he also explains that these objects within the pieces themselves, they break down. They lose their outlines. They lose their clarity kind of within the piece itself. And that's because in this world, this fairy tale, as another critic, August Endel, describes, is that we're leaving behind the focus on these objects. And so the critic Leonard suppresses the comparison between these works, and understands that he needs to do so in a more metaphorical sense, so he can say something becomes something else, not this is that. So his approach is more fluid and multi-stable versus a rigid or one-to-one approach, which I think accomplishes what Kandinsky really wanted. I totally think that this argument that's being presented in this article is valid. I think the author of this critique is perfect for this example. And so what really I feel like Leonard was able to do is view non-objective art non-objectively, which is what Kandinsky wanted. And so really, to change the habits of viewing this art is necessary when it's a completely different art form that has been done previously. We can't look at every type of art from the same point of view and from the same perspective of analysis. And so I think the author of this article is saying that he appreciates the way that Leonard was able to do this, and that makes him one of the most successful critics of Kandinsky's work. Later works of Kandinsky, they invite no objective interpretation at all, and I feel like this show almost is like the lead in to that full commitment into the abstract world. So Leonard, in a way, is giving he's defending Kandinsky's work, and he's allowing it to be what it actually is, rather than try to force it into a analysis that has existed for previous work. I feel like I just totally get this article. I really liked it. It was kind of awesome. Good to read, really understandable. I left kind of with this new information that, I didn't have before, and I think the author did a great job of proving his point. There was a lot of really good quotes that I had pulled and wrote down, and yeah, can't wait to hear and read what everyone else had to say. All right, everyone, have a lovely weekend. Bye.